You were not satisfied as a female. Did this transition, even temporarily, did it bring you any the satisfaction you thought that you were going to receive?
In some ways, it did temporarily. I was happy in the sense that it's almost like taking a drug. Like, imagine that you have this horrible gaping wound and you take a bunch of painkillers. You're going to feel better, but it's not resolving the wound underneath. But so there were aspects of it. You know, everybody's affirming me, everybody's celebrating me, and I finally, it's like allowing me to escape the pain that I was in emotionally. But it was so fake. It was so frustrating. I mean, sexually, for example, you know, it just doesn't work. And so there were so many things that were just a daily frustration, realizing that this is all fake. But it, you know, I was happy in a sense. But as the years went on, I just realized that it wasn't ultimately fulfilling. It wasn't ultimately fixing any of the brokenness. And as that started to resurface, I felt so empty.
And it's interesting because you have people that can identify, I'm sure, with you, or if they really admit it, can identify with your story, and they encounter depression, some of them taking their own lives. Now, the LGBTQ people, those that are pushing that agenda would say, well, transgender people have a high suicide rate because they're being bullied because of their choices with respect to how they deal with their sexual identity. I would contend that it's a result of people that are not comfortable within themselves. They've attempted to perhaps make a change, and it has not resulted in the type of satisfaction they're looking for. That's as an outsider, that's my observation. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, there are so many resources out there that would give you that information. Look up Trans Life Survivors, a book by Walt Heyer. Look up, there's a Reddit forum that's Reddit, whatever it is, reddit.com, I guess,
Yep.
and then /DTrans, DETRANS. They have like 17,000 people on there that regret. Look up sexchangeregret.com. Many other resources I could give you where people absolutely regret this. There's a good example of a girl, and I don't know her real birth name, or I don't tend to use that person's name, their transgender name.
Sure.
But the only name I know her by is Blake Brockington, and she was a girl that in her high school got real famous for being the first transgender homecoming king. And was so celebrated by the entire school. And you talk about somebody that had all the celebration and affirmation, and she committed suicide a year later.
Wow. So let's talk about what God did in your life. Here you are, born a female, biological female, attempted to transition to become a male, lived for nearly a decade as a transgender man named Jake. Tell me about the road back and the discovery of your identity in Christ.
Yeah, and despite all the depression, it wasn't what I wanted. I was like, you know, this is the best life's ever going to get, but it's better than being female, and I'm not going back, because there was still so much pain there. Every time I thought about it, it was so painful, and I didn't know why. I didn't understand the things that had happened in childhood with my mom and different things, and, you know, so I was just kind of drifting through life, but I was crying out, not to God, because I'd grown up in a Christian home. I didn't know that I wasn't saved. I didn't know that I didn't know Jesus. So I was like, well, that didn't work. That didn't have the answers. So I was just like, what is the point of life? And I was drifting through life, and but God began to pursue me, and I know it was my parents' prayers. God was just wooing me to himself and revealing himself to me in so many different ways, in dreams, over the radio, over so many things. And eventually, God just began to encounter me and reveal, for the first time in my life, not just my sin, but who he was. And so I began to desire a relationship with God. And I gave my heart to Jesus and kind of got radically saved. But I wanted to be a man of God. But he didn't leave me there. It was like God saved me in the midst of all of that. But he didn't leave me there. And he began to convict me of the lifestyle I was living and began to draw me out. And as he did, I eventually left that lifestyle. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was like Matthew 16 verses 24 through 26, where he says, you know, if anyone will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. And so the Lord led me to die to that lifestyle, to come and follow him by faith. And I thought I was going to be miserable the rest of my life. I didn't think I'd ever look like a girl again. I didn't think I'd ever feel like a girl again. But as he peeled away the layers, as I began to forgive my mom, let go of all the bitterness, he brought so much healing and transformation over the years, and it was all a work of Jesus Christ.